estimate, and I'm sorry, if there's somebody really interested in purchasing that property, they will do their due diligence, they will sign a goodwill contract, they'll show interest 2 years ahead of time, if we're really interested in trying to find a new.
The point is they're not saying one way or the other, and I think it should.
And I directly have asked this question to Jared Smith himself, and he can't answer it because he doesn't know. And he's hoping that we'll find somebody to repurpose it. He doesn't know that that's an option. He said money will be set aside for demolition. However, we have no idea how much demolition is going to cost. And there is asbestos in that building. That was asked at another meeting I was at of a maintenance employee. And then he said, we have 2 years to figure it out. You know, that 2 years to figure it out response to me is that's not acceptable. I mean, you know, we need to have a plan, maybe not a finalized plan, but we have to have a plan.
But hang on, to the same note, we spent that time to figure out exactly what we were doing. We haven't been settled on a plan of building a middle school near the high school for more than a couple months tops.
So why so fast?
Why do you expect them to have an answer so fast?
That's right, so
Yeah.
why have the vote so fast? When you don't have enough information to adequately answer the question.
The other thing is, everybody thinks and puts out there, it's for the kids. Where is the plan for the next 2 years for an overpopulated school? Nobody said to alleviate this problem, we're gonna have to do this. They're gonna have to have the same conditions for the next 2 years in that school. These kids are gonna go.
There's still going to be asbestos in it.
Right.
And there's still gonna be ceilings falling
It's still
down
not going to
because
be,
of
and it's
money.
still not going to be ADA compliant,
So
federal compliant.
Where's the school board's plan? Where's our teachers' plans? Because we need to take care of the kids, whether we build a building or not. There's 2 years to think about.
What's happening to those other repairs, and why are we sitting on $4 million? I say we're big boys and girls, and we really need to just be blunt, tell us the truth, not filter it through a PR firm. I don't want to email my questions to Jared Smith and let him email it to Donovan Group, and then Donovan Group send me a politically correct answer. I think it's fair to be able to ask questions and get a response. And that's me personally, and I want them to come and tell us that they've been overtaxing us and hoarding cash, and now we're either going to have to spend the money or lower our taxes. I like people being honest with me. Why is it $20.8 million? Is that because it's the maximum the state allows, or is that why $20.8 million? Okay, that's as much as they can ask for. Okay, we are assessed at $416 million of value in this district, and the state says, okay, school districts, you cannot ask for more than 5% of your assessed value. Now, this is the best I can come up with. I have done my due diligence to try to be absolutely correct in what I say. Travis Squire says we're assessed at $400 million. Okay? We're assessed, 20.8 is 5% of $416 million, and I bet that's exactly what we're assessed at. That is the most they can ask for. They're just coming and maxing out their GO bond credit limit. That doesn't ring good with me personally. Just max out what you can ask for. 20.8 is the most that we could possibly go in debt. Okay, the state says basically they made the law. You're stupid, school districts, if you're going to go into indebtedness over 5% of your assessed value. That's the way we're going to keep you in check. Well, they're going in 20.8, and then there's these other maneuvers to get deeper in debt than we really ought to be. Than what the spirit of the law, okay? They might be following the letter of the law. 20.8 is not just where they stopped because that was a good place to stop. That's the most we can go into debt for. That doesn't bode well with me. Because if we're at maximum amount of debt, and what if the feds do say we need to get ADA compliant or get rid of the asbestos, or we do have to do some of that other $14 to $25 million work, you know? We're going to be completely tapped out. We got 3 credit cards, and this is going to be on the other slide. We've got cash. We can loan against the SAVE. That's the penny sales tax. I'll talk about that. And we can loan against your property. And they won't let them loan over 5%, and then they know what the SAVE is going to be. Those are our 3 cash sources. 2 credit cards and cash, okay, which they're going to zap all of them, every bit. There's nowhere else to go after what we do here, okay? There's no more to be had. We are maxing out both credit cards and our entire cash fund. We're blowing through our savings and topping off both credit cards here. And again, both credit cards is, we can loan against that penny save. Okay, we can borrow against it, future revenue. It goes beyond 2031 now. It goes to 2051. We can borrow against that, and that's what they're doing. They borrowed some for the high school. They're going to finish borrowing everything else they can borrow against that. Then they're going to borrow everything they can general obligation, which is against your taxes. Then they're going to blow through as much cash as they can standard blow through. We're going to be done. Okay? That leaves nothing left for the other 14 to 25 million in other schools. So that's my question. Are they asking for a $29 million school, or are they merely asking for every single dime they possibly can ask for? Okay? Are they asking to go absolutely as far into debt as they possibly can go? And the answer I've come up is yes. They are asking to go in as far debt as they possibly can go, to have their full credit at their full disposal. Okay? Your taxes will go up. Your taxes have already gone up. They just want to keep them up. I think the speed derives from a limit that they are about to hit, in which the state is telling them, you've hoarded enough cash, you can't hoard anymore. At that point, our taxes are going to drop like a rock. And if they drop like a rock, they know they're going to have a hard time ever getting them back up to like they were, okay? So instead, they tell us your taxes won't go up. That's disingenuous. That's disrespectful. Taxes are already as high as they can get. They just don't want to let them come down. That's what's going on. We all knew something wasn't right when they said we're going to spend $29 million and not raise taxes. Okay? And they're very careful not to raise tax levy. And I want to explain that. But they're not going to raise taxes anymore. They've already raised them. That's what's happened. That's what I'm upset about. Okay? We can bicker about the building. I don't care. But this is really what I'm upset about. The deceit. If you project an idea, you can use all the words that are correct, but if you project an idea and you're intentionally misleading somebody or giving them a false reality, that's still a lie. I don't care if all your words are technically correct. If you're knowingly giving somebody a false sense of reality, that's just as good as a lie in my book. And you come and tell us property taxes won't go up, and a little asterisk says property tax rates won't go up. And I'm going to tell you something else about that here in a few minutes. That's deceptive. That's sending a false message, and there's hundreds of voters that have gotten that message and they believe them, but that's deceptive because they've already gone up.
They're just going to increase the value of your
I'll show you. I'm going to explain that exactly how it is. I'll explain it to everybody. So I'm not a professional here. I'll try to take it. Now this is how they get by. Your tax rate will not go up. Tax rate, property tax rate. We didn't say your taxes won't go up. We didn't say your taxes ain't going to pay for it. Just the levy won't go up. Well, not anymore. It's already maxed out. I wonder if they even can, or if we were just bumping up against the statutory limits. And I think we're bumping up against the statutory limits. The rate will not increase. Okay, here's how property taxes, for those of you don't know, or those of you don't completely understand. You take your assessed value. All the assessor does is decide what your property's worth, okay? And the assessor he has very little leeway. He's just taking a state laws and deciding what your property's worth, okay? He gives your property an assessed value, and then you multiply it by a rollback. That's a decimal. The rollbacks come from the state, and you get a taxable value, and you are taxed with your taxable value per thousand. So what happens is the school sets their budget, the county sets their budget, the township set their budget, they send that to the auditor, auditor divides that between all the value in the county, and then you have a levy rate, and then everybody pays their fair share, according to property. Well, let's not talk about property taxes in general, but that's what happens. And then that's what you get. So here's the formula. Assessed value times rollback equals taxable value. Taxable value paid per thousand times the levy rate, and then you get credits. You get ag credit, farmstead or homestead credit, and such. So we're not going to talk about the credits tonight. They're absolutely of no value to us tonight. Rollbacks change every year, and they come from the state. The state sets the rollback, okay? It don't matter. And I'm going to show you how the levy rate can stay exactly the same, and there's two ways. Everybody knows, well, they can just change your assessment. That's not always the assessor's fault, because there's two things. You have the assessed value, and then you have the rollback. There's two ways that your actual taxable value can change. And it's not just the assessor's fault. We ought to be easy on the assessor. I mean, he's pretty, but they multiply the assessed value by a rollback. And then you get per thousand levy rate. Okay, rollbacks are set by the state. The state's not going to promise us to keep rollbacks favorable. If they want to change property taxes, the state change a rollback. And they have an arm, okay? Also, my assessments went up in 18. But do you know what taxes we're paying now? We're paying 17. It takes a year and a half for those taxes to process through. You haven't even got your taxes on your raised assessment from 18, okay? You haven't got your taxes on the new radio. Your taxes are going to go up next year. I promise you that, okay? The assessed value went up in 18. You're paying next month 2017 cycle because it takes time. What happens? They assess the value, the state legislates the rollback, the auditor calculates this, then the county puts their, and you want to know something else? Here's a side note. 10 years ago, property taxes were $27 per thousand, and the school took 49%. Okay? This year, taxes are $28, so they've only gone up $1, but the schools are taking 54%. The county's been good to us. So, theoretically, I mean, because taxes have stayed the same, the county's taking less chunk of it, and the schools went from 49% of your total levy down to up to 54%. And your taxes have stayed the same, but it's just more of it's going to the school in the last 10 years, okay? And I think we already know how that happened. So you haven't even seen your taxes in your raised assessment in 18. So, okay, rollbacks change. You have ag, multi-residential, residential, commercial, business, and all that. So every class of property has a different rollback. So here's a real life example. If you have a house for $133,000 assessed value and there's a 75-cent rollback, your house, you're only taxed $100,000, right? And if you take your $100,000 taxable value and you divide it into 1,000 units by $10 levy, I wish, but $10 levy just for easy figuring, you have 1,000. So let's say that's our basic calculation, okay? Now, I will not change the levy rate, okay? I will change the rollback. Now, if that rollback goes up from 75 to 825, you just have $100 extra taxes.
Control what that rollback is?
The state, okay, you have the assessed value. They do two things. They equalize it and they have a rollback. So they basically go in behind the assessor and make sure they did it right. So that the state does two things, and they both could affect your taxes. I'm not even really talking about equalizing. They equalize and they set the rollback. Yes, the rollback can change. Yes, the rollback did change. It went up for farm ground. I think it's a net increase in 18 at 3%. And that's actually the maximum that it can go up a year. They cannot go up over a 3% increase. Some people think it's 4%, but it's 3% increase net on the rollback. That doesn't mean that your property couldn't go up over 3%. So I know this is kind of complicated, but I just want to show you. Same house, same assessed value. State can change that rollback and you just paid $100 more in taxes. And the school can keep the levy rate the same. Okay? Property tax just went up. Levy rate stayed the same. The assessed value stayed the same. The assessor didn't do nothing wrong. The assessed value stayed the same. The rollback changed. Okay? Rollbacks are changing, by the way. Just so you know, they haven't set them for this year, but they're changing. We can go back to the original example, and instead of changing the rollback, instead of changing the levy rate, just leave it right there. Levy rates can stay the same. We'll just add 5% to the assessed value. 133 plus 5% would be your house is now valued at $140,000. You can keep that original favorable rollback by the state. The state didn't do nothing, and you're still $50 higher on taxes. Levy rate stayed the same. Okay? That can and will happen. It can happen for sure. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think I know it's going to happen a little bit soon, and who knows what's going to happen in 20 years. That's how long we're going to go into debt, 20 years. Okay? Levy rate stayed the same, taxes went up. Assessed value and rollbacks both can increase taxes. The state sets the rollback. The state equalizes the assessed values. I don't think that, okay, I put here, I don't think the state's going to guarantee us that they're going to give us favorable equalizations or rollbacks, okay? I don't think they're going to guarantee us that. The school board has not promised us. They have not. They're very careful. They have not promised us. Not only that, any change in the school board, I mean, if they did make a promise, the next school board is not bound by any promises this school board would make. The next school board is not bound by any promises this superintendent makes. Even if they did promise, which they haven't, they're not bound by those promises. As soon as the board or the superintendent changes, I mean, they can do whatever they want. They have the taxing authority, boom, it can go up. They're not bound by any promises. So technically they could be making promises right now, and they're not legally binding promises. But they haven't made the promises. Okay? So I just said that. Future boards and superintendents are not bound by promises made by this board. We don't actually have promises from this board, and Travis was very clear. His financial scenario was based upon a best case ideal scenario. Okay? Everything has to go right, even for his own scenario to work. This is what Travis has done. Here you go, school board. I've worked it out. I've got the financial figures planned out. This is what you can do. This is the most you can do here. This is the most you can do there. It will work if this happens. And the school board can say, great, let's do it. And he said, whoa, first you have to get voter permission to go that maximum into debt. They say, okay, we'll try that. We can maybe do that. He says, whoa, I doubt my own planning here. I don't think that you're going to achieve this perfect scenario. I need some more collateral in the form of top property. So you need more taxing authority so that you can raise taxes if you get in trouble. Okay? That's what question 2 is doing. More taxing authority if they get in trouble. Now, considering we have $14 to $25 million of stuff that needs to be done, I say the chances that we're going to be getting in trouble might come up. Okay? His trend line is that we're going to grow. Okay? From my understanding, he made a trend line of population or pupil growth. Was it staying the same? He went back 12 years?
For 5 years he had it level.
For the 5 years he had it level?
He went out 5 years and he had it basically level.
Okay. I gathered, what did he do 12 years back?
Well, I don't know that, but I know he went out 5 years.
Oh, the projected is level.
If you go back 12 years, well, we have increased over the past 5 years, some. We was dropping before that, and we have increased and then leveled off, and he used 5 years out.
Okay, so we're not projecting growth in the student population?
No.
Okay, well, I was under understanding that we were. So, but either way, if we have any unforeseen circumstances, okay, if parents get mad, they open and roll 20 or 30 kids out, your property taxes are going up, okay? If this causes a rift in property and there goes 20 or 30 kids, you're making up for it in property taxes. If we have an emergency in some of these other schools, you're making up for it in property taxes. Any unforeseen circumstances that might do it. If the PAT closes, and I don't think it's going to close, but who knows? It's closed before. If they reduce, if we lose, what if we lost 10 kids? What if we lost 20 kids? You're making it up for you in property taxes. I do know this much, is that Travis is counting on an ideal scenario. Is that fair to say, Roger? Did you gather that?
He's figuring level, but the question is, with no new houses being built in either one of these towns and stuff like that, are we going to be able to maintain level?
Can we maintain level? Yeah.
That's
So
the
basically,
question.
it's not that we have to grow. We have to be.
If we can maintain level, this will work, but there is, if you own ag land, talking to Travis, you're probably going to get a nice size increase in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Without raising the levy. They're going to
Travis won't loan to the school without us effectively co-signing the loan. That's how confident he is in his plan. That's what I'm saying, okay? He's not confident enough in his plan to do it without us co-signing the loan. That's question number 2 is. More taxing authority. We are putting our property up as collateral and, cash flow, revenue source, okay? Banks or bond agents, as it were, will not loan them money without them having the authority to raise property taxes. Okay. I think they've maxed out the penny sales revenue, and they've maxed out levying power. I think with this, we go completely, we went part way in on the high school. That's why it wasn't voted. That was called a revenue bond. It's what the 20.8 is a general obligation bond. It's paid for with property taxes. They built the high school addition on a revenue bond. They borrowed against the state's promise to give them a penny sales tax for the next future. They borrowed against that, so that credit card was already half used up. They're using the other half here, plus cash, plus all of their general obligation. Okay? And I said they've already maxed out levying. Board, please. That's not a challenge. Okay, I said they've maxed out what they can tax us. That is not a challenge to the board to find out if you can charge us more taxes. Please don't take that as a challenge. I'm just speculating that until we have a way to blow that wad of cash in our pocket, that 4.6 million, that's going to cut off that $4 extra that they've been taxing, that cash reserve levy, that $4 that they've been taking, they can't have that anymore unless they blow that wad of cash. Okay, so until they can blow that cash on something, we've limited our levying authority as a district. If we blow through our savings, and if we gain a debt, they can keep that $4.26 extra for no reason money on there. Unfortunately, if something goes wrong, it even goes higher. Okay, there's been some numbers thrown around. This is a pretty good source. I can't do this. For my understanding is that if nothing happens, taxes go down 20 cents next year until elementary is paid off, and then they drop to $1.20. And that's even if they're, so that's the minimum. That would be, I'd say, from what I see, that would be the minimum that taxes are going to go down, that they would absolutely have to go down. Okay? So we owe on the elementary until 2024. We still owe, I looked it up, I don't think we've paid anything on that bond for the high school. I don't think we paid a dime, because the state still has it listed as a $5.95 million bond that we haven't paid a dime on it. And that's going to be there till 2029 and 2030. Maybe the state hasn't updated their books. I don't know.
We're only paying interest on that.
Yeah, so we're just catching interest on it.
It's totally backloaded to start in 2024 to get payments.
Yep.
We are paying-
It's sitting there.
Actually, we're paying interest.
Our revenue bonds is sitting on the, I did look that up, I could have got the sheet I guess, but it's sitting right there at the full $5.95 million. So, yeah, we still got that entire debt. But that's supposed to be paid off in 2029, 2030, theoretically. So, here's the numbers I've heard.
Did they talk at all about, and I wasn't present for the financing meeting, but I know that rates are great right now. Did they talk about anything?
They talked about that.
Kind
That
of
was a
figure
selling
that?
point. That they said that rates are 2.5% interest, and that was good, and that's why we need to jump on this. I really don't. Okay, he also said that he can sell that money by June, and I think if somebody's jumping on that money that fast, that we're not going to be worrying about interest problems in the future. I mean, he's not having a problem selling money. So you can speculate what interest is going to do. That's a selling point that's been thrown out there. What if we could do this, but what if interest goes up to 4%? And we can go ahead and do it now, but what if, I could say what if interest goes down to 1.5%? It is speculation. I don't see a point. I kind of like to watch what's happening. I don't see a real, what should I say?
I was just curious if there was a dollar value thrown out for savings from refinancing.
It all being an interest rate, and the savings, you'd have to compare it against projected interest. That's the only way you can take it.
Throughout was if we wait 3 years after the elementary's paid off, and interest goes up 2%, then it's gonna cost us it's gonna cost more for the building with inflation, and it's gonna cost more for interest, but that's two ifs. There's a lot of ifs here, that's the problem. We need to get.
Quite frankly, the building cost has gone up. In the last 10 years, the building cost has already hit.
If you could build a school for, say, 20 million and put on 8 million, then you're down to 12 million for a bond, then the interest rates he's floating is very good, 2 to 2.5%. That's very good. I mean, that's one good reason, but we need to see numbers to see if we could get it down to, say, 12 million on top of what they did at the high school. Then we wouldn't be quite stretched he's stretching the rubber band as far as he can, because as he said, he sells money. That's how he makes his money. And I talked to him for 20 minutes, he's a very nice guy, but you gotta remember, his job is to sell money. So if we could do it for 20, and honestly, I went to that school when I was in kindergarten, I went to it when I was in middle school, 7 through 9. It is an old school, and I am for building a new school. So I'm not totally negative, but I would like to see numbers. You know, if we can do it for 20, pay off 6 or 8, then the rubber band isn't stretched so far. But I agree, we do need to do something with that school. But we don't need to start at the high number and then just vote it in, because then the architects got 29 million to work with, they got 29 million to play with. We just need to see plans, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
sign set of plans.
I'm not against the new school, so, and I pay a boatload of taxes. So, I know we need a new school, and I got 2 grandkids and another one on the way, so they will get to use the school, but is there,
There needs to be fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
For all this, it's not just a blank check, run around and spend all this money because we're gonna give it to you. We need to see where there could be corners cut. We're just worried about educating the kids. We don't need a bunch of, or need BS on the side, like we had in high
What's
school.
important here, a fancy school or a good education for the children?
Exactly, it just needs to be about educating the kids.
well, we just need
I
plans.
tell you what, I've talked to Royce Hutton, he's a retired superintendent from the Grand Schools. He said if that happens, that we have the high school commingled with the middle school, that's a big no-no, because that was tried in LeGrand, and they had to revert back to the original way that they did it. So, he kind of pretty much said, keep those kids separate. And he's talking from experience, so we can look at that too.
Yeah. What he's saying is that former superintendent LeGrand is saying just middle school is on top of high school is not good. I had a prior school board member bring that up and said that when they built the elementary that they were thinking of taking the middle school to the west and then having the middle school on top of the elementary, and that wouldn't have been piling the middle schoolers in with the high schoolers. But apparently, I don't have this concern. I'm just expressing it for other people. To put middle schoolers in with the high schoolers is showing a lot of concern for a lot of people.
Put them together. I mean, it's separate but together, and I think, there's a reason why they're looking at doing that. And I don't know what it is for sure. I'm gonna speculate it's the auditorium, that if they build it and connect it with, and I don't know that that's the truth, because we have no idea.
I know that for shared services such as facility maintenance and not cafeterias and eating together, but commercial kitchen, sourcing that out of one central location to serve both schools. The kitchen in the high school is grossly undersized, as is the current middle school. And so that would be something that, looking at some of those shared services, and then not necessarily commingling students, but there are staff such as music instructors or language instructors, some tech instructors that are teaching at both levels, and that allows them to share their time and work with both student bodies more efficiently.
Gives your students more opportunities as well. Actually, our education trends are absolutely putting them together, where, if you have a granddaughter or grandson that's at an algebra level, do we just leave them in 6th grade because that's where they're at, or do we push them so that they're leaving here as equipped as they can be and they're being challenged? So a lot of that, to be honest, I don't know that should be as big a concern.
It's a good question, though. It's a valid.
And that's a fair answer in both
Well,
ways.
I don't know how this can possibly be built without a gymnasium, because the middle school gymnasium is busy all day, and I'm sure the high school is too, so I think you're talking gymnasium space is gonna have to be built.
Yeah, but again, we're
But who
speculating.
knows?
We're speculating,
I know,
and that's one of the big
that's the
concerns. Is
frustration.
Well, one thing is, you close the school, the town dies. You take a look at all these small communities, they close the schools, and see what's happening. It's already in bad enough shape.
Okay, to voice that out loud, in case anybody didn't hear, is when a town loses a school, it dies. I know I've heard a lot of people in Toledo unhappy about losing their school. They're just generally unhappy.